If you're at the start of your wine export journey, trying unsuccessfully to find the right import partner, I may have something that can help. As host of Interpreting Wine, I've interviewed 166 winemakers, 20 masters of wine, 26 international sommeliers, and 31 importers from the UK, US, and Austria. So I know a thing or two about what it takes to engage the wine trade, who make up 70% of my audience. I'm offering the chance to discover your export readiness score. Take the test and you'll receive a personalized report outlining how to increase your winery's impact in your target markets. All for free, and it takes less than 3 minutes. Just visit interpretingwine.com/exportready and take the wine export scorecard today. That's interpretingwine.com/exportready. Today's episode of the podcast is a Brno and South Moravia travel special featuring Milan Bukovsky of Atelier Bar and Bistro and Arielle DeSoucey of Civil Wines. We first hear from Milan his origin story in the hospitality world, before describing the origins of Atelier and how it developed from a pop-up to its current permanent site in the city. Arielle talks about her transition from working in hospitality in New York to moving to Brno and establishing Civil Wines. Before Milan takes us on a virtual tour of Atelier, how it has changed over the last 5 years, and how it's been received in the local and expat communities. Before Arielle goes deeper into the reaction and Atelier's place within the expat scene. On the food side, we talk about authenticity and how Atelier stays true to its place in South Moravia while bringing in other influences. Milan then introduces us to the Cuvee Atlelier, produced by local winery Plener. Arielle first looks ahead to the development of Civil Wines and wider promotion of Brno as a tourist destination, before Milan talks about his focus going forward and how Atelier will keep developing. Enjoy.
So, for me, it was always very important to work with the people that I really like, So I try to do anything what, I like, but most important thing for me was to be in a community of people that are doing the same with the same passion, I started with the bartending. The years ago, I think it's almost about 10 years, and it was in a very shitty place, like with the jackpot machines and disgusting things and stuff. But it was a very, very good school because my background was hospitality started there. Because, if you don't have a good product and good ambience, the only thing that is left is you, So I try to take care about the people how I can. So this was my start. And I fall in love in this profession, so I started learning more and more. It was in South Moravia, but it was not in Brno. It was in a small town of Veselí nad Moravou, which is like my hometown. And then I learned something from great courses. I go for cocktail courses in Prague in very famous bars. So this is where my journey started, and then I tried to find some job, so I ended up in Brno, which was very nice at the time, and now it's even nicer. I used to work in a nice environment, very high-classy restaurant and bar. And then I think I really need to move more forward to my dream or to something that I really wanted, and that was, as I said at the beginning, to work with the people with the same passion. So this was the reason to start Atelier. Atelier wasn't Bistro back then. It was more like pop-up concept. When I used to work with the bartenders, the sommelier, the barista people, and these guys. So we started with the pop-ups. Then my ex-colleague showed up from Berlin, and he is great cook. So he joined Atelier as my partner and business partner, and we started to cook. So then the decision that we made was very, pragmatic and very clear, because he was a cook and I a bartender. So we opened the Bistro and Bar. I opened Atelier 3 years ago, almost 3 years. So, but I started working on it 15. Like 15 started the pop-ups and the planning for Bistro. Economic stuff and all the things around. And now we are here. Yeah. The funny thing was, like, we didn't want to do wine much. It was like something. Yeah, we want to work with wine. But it was not like, we will have like 35 different winemakers on a wine list, which is the situation that we are living now. But, I was blown by the people who try to work on the vineyards and make the best wine possible. And we fall in love with a lot of these people. And I want to support them, because I feel that this is kind of our position, that we have the possibility to change the market and to tell people stories and show them what is good to drink, in our opinion, of course. And was the reason why we started this wine tour, and we are working on it since.
So I moved here as an expat with my husband in December of 2018. And so we've been living here about 1 year and a half in Brno city center. And within the first month of us stumbling around the streets looking for good wine, we came across Atelier, and I met Milan, and I knew that this place was really special. I saw what they were doing with their food and gastronomy and how imaginative and ambitious they were. And I had never seen anything like that in Brno. And mind you, I'm coming from New York City, so where I've been around food, gastronomy, high-end restaurants, Paul Bocuse-style restaurants. And to come here and have that level of quality of food paired with excellent wines from the region, I knew that this place was my new stomping ground. So, so my background with wine, so I'm a trained sommelier with WSET. I started my own wine business called Civil Wines as a way to create a bridge between the English-speaking market in Brno and the Moravian wine community, because I felt like there was a missing link between people drinking wine from the region, buying wines directly from producers and supporting the wine industry here, and being able to also communicate with the producers here and the wineries here to expose their wines on a different level, with social media, with hosting wine tastings in Brno, with creating a culture around wine, hence the name Civil Wines, to keep everything civil, to keep it more for the civilian, for the everyday person. And I think wine can be really complicated and it can be really easy. And finding that marriage between the two and connecting the consumer with the wines for me is the most important. And so why I love Atelier is that you found the same connection between connecting the everyday consumer who's looking for a great glass of wine with a delicious pairing. And every time I'm here, I'm just amazed at the extensive thought that gets put into every dish and every wine selected. And everything makes sense here, but in a way that's very comforting and really approachable. I've always been a big fan of Atelier, of course. And so always trying to, promote them and to say, this is a great place. If you want to learn about Moravian wine and have a great meal, go to Atelier and they'll take care of you. And so with my business, Civil Wines, I'm actually now working as a consultant for a Canadian wine import business. And they've established a program called Vino Canada to export Moravian wine in support with the Czech government and the Czech embassy to get these wines out. And so that's kind of my mission, to promote Moravia and to promote the wines.
Great to hear at a fairly high level your history and kind of, I always like to hear stories where wine brings people together and food brings people together. But I think the more that I travel and the more that I speak to restaurateurs and sommeliers, I realize the things that feel effortless are often the things that actually have taken the most amount of thought. And I'm really wanting to be learning at the same time as a listener here. I really would just like, firstly, you, Milan, just to kind of take us on a virtual tour, really, of Atelier, because I think the space itself and even its location within Brno are both really interesting to me. So, but you don't want to hear it from me. I want to hear it, kind of directly from your mouth, and yeah, maybe even slightly back before you started. What was it that made you think this could be the place for your concept?
So, with Atelier, the thing is, I consider it a little bit like a hidden gem of the city, because we was looking almost for a year and a half for a venue where we will have Atelier. It was very difficult back then because the prices of rent is incredible here, and it's very tough to do great gastronomy because if you do great gastronomy, it's all the time, about the balance of, income and because you put a lot of money in your quality or food and stuff, and you take care about your people. So this was the first thing, and actually we find the hidden gem because everything seems very, very good in here. The owner is very, on our side. The place itself is very beautiful. It's in one of the oldest buildings in Brno. It's in the same and very same center, located to the biggest square, the main square in the city, but actually it's not on it. So it has more potential for us to work on a atmosphere and work on a welcome. It's very important because if you have windows to the most touristic place, you can work with the atmosphere too much. So still in an interior of Atelier, you can see very old things that reminds that this is a very old building. And this is it. And if you came to our building, you go through the gate, and the first thing that you see is a big patio. It's our summer terrace, where you can get the ambience a lot, and or you can get ambience of what we are doing. We want to see effortless, like a little bit playful, So this is something that we want to do, like not to take attention or bring attention to, expensive chairs, but to just support the atmosphere. And actually the design itself is, like mirror for our concept. So quality, effortless, not show off, just play it easy. And actually, people like this style, so they can feel more relaxed, Like, we started, I'm now a little bit shifting to concept, but let's start with the tour more. So if you came to the patio, you can see like this amazing setup, very playful, a lot of different chairs, but still it's in some order, so it feels very relaxed. If you come inside, we are actually small bistro, very small bistro. We have like 40 seats. But if you do your work well with the seating, we can do like 2 or 2.5 turns. So it works very well. Like 10 seats are located at the bar, and the kitchen is open. So we are sitting just in front of the kitchen and just in front of the bar. So the rush here is very intense. Like in the winter when the terrace is closed, this is a very rush place. It's not something like calm, fine dining, not at all, It's a lot of rumble in the jungle, what I mean? So, and this is exactly what we want, because we wanted to show people that good gastronomy is not just a matter of fine dining. It should be regular for your life, It should help you to live better life, but still it doesn't mean that you need to pay, treasure for it. So when we started, the concept was quite strict, We have very strict menu, few dishes on it, and we focus on food pairing with the cocktails and quite complex wine. So it was, I think, very hard to people to accept it. I don't mean it that it was like high-level gastronomy. It was just something very, very different, And it was also very hard for us to maintain the quality, the level, and to keep people satisfied. Like this is like two different things that you need to work on your concept every time. So we then started to change it a little bit to go more to our people and customers, and then we realized that, my friend, we want to make a bistro, so like 6 or 7 course degustation menu paired with the cocktails and very difficult wines. This is not the bistro and bar, and also with the price range, it was not, okay. So we started shifting it a little bit, to open more for people, and then I think it started to be more successful because Czech people understand it more, like we need to learn what people in Moravia or in Brno understand. Jakub came from Berlin and he used to work in London, so this is totally different environment, And I was like in a cocktail bar, so this is also a very different environment. So we learned that, and I think that we successfully shift the concept a little bit, and now we are very, accepted by Czech community or Moravian people, because I think the very simple reason is that they understand what we are doing, They understand what we are doing, and they really appreciate it because, as I said, it's in a price range when you can go to bistro like almost every day, and you still will be enjoying very, very good things, like the wines and stuff and food. And actually, Expat was something that really, really helped us, because this was actually the people that we was speaking to in first row, We doesn't think about that because we wanted to make a bistro for Brno people, but actually the expats or people from abroad, they came, and we doesn't need to, talk them to understand what we are doing. They just understand it because we actually came from the same environment, So these people help us a lot to to get some money to be alive, yeah. And also they used to wrote reviews and stuff, which was very helpful for us too. So yeah, thanks Expat, you help us a lot. And now thanks to all Brno people and the community, because after the virus came, we started again with slightly different concept, but then I feel the power of the community, Like we was thinking about shutting it down, It was economically totally disaster, but a lot of people started to write me messages, and it was like, like total restart for me to do it again and do it better, and now it's amazing. So yeah, so this is the situation with the people, or how they accepted our concept.
Milan, you've started doing my job for me, basically, because I think that's set us up really into, I guess, bringing in Arielle and opening up the discussion a little bit more on the kind of the expat side, and potentially, having lived here for now, a couple of years, I think briefly a little bit of an insight of, who are the sorts of people, I guess, that nationalities maybe, or whatever kind of makes sense, that are living here. But then also, I think it would be great to hear from you, like what might be some of the feedback you get from people, because I'm sure your enthusiasm brings them here. And what do they say when they step off the main square, walk down that alleyway, and then it opens up into that amazing courtyard?
Yeah, so I think the big wow factor here is that courtyard. I think that's just gold. I've never seen anything like that. And I've lived in New York, DC, France. I've lived in Lyon. I've spent time traveling all around. And this place is just, it has such a warmth to it. And I think that's what the expats are really looking for, but it's still private. So I think people can come here and have a private meal, conversation, and not feel like just people on the street are looking in to see what they're doing, who they are. So there's this element of privacy that I really appreciate with that courtyard and of course, inside the restaurant. In terms of expats, of course, I've brought all of my friends here. And I mean, when they see the food come out, they're like, this is like my favorite restaurant back in America, And the imaginative food, like I was mentioning, ingredients you wouldn't expect together but work, and things that are locally sourced, I think is really important for foreigners. Knowing that they know where the food comes from, I think that's a huge global movement, and I think Atelier just really captures that. The cocktails here are delicious too. So of course they have a great wine list, but the cocktails here are changing and innovative and very seasonal. So I think for that, I think the expats appreciate that, because a lot of them come from big cities, from London, from New York, from California, and they want that. They don't want, of course, there's a traditional Czech cuisine restaurant at every pub down the road, but there's nothing as imaginative as they can find here. And I think that is really attractive, that you can come here and dress up and have a really fancy dinner out, or you can come in jeans and a t-shirt and be treated exactly the same, have the exact same experience. So there's a lot of this interplay between, the welcoming of all races and diversity and inclusion. And I think that's a really great aspect to here. I've brought a lot of American friends here, some Europeans as well, especially from Norway. They really enjoy it here. They're like, this is like my favorite, up and coming kind of cocktail bar back where I'm from. So they have a little piece of home. I also appreciate that everything here is in English too. They always have an English menu. And so for me, that's a big plus, because I don't speak Czech, really. And so to have that's really helpful. And to ask, the waiters here and waitresses here are so friendly and always give recommendations. So, having this kind of sense of comfort, like going to Atelier, you'll be taken care of. That's kind of, I tell my friends, especially people coming in for work from Red Hat, from AT&T, from Lufthansa, huge companies are here. And there's a big expat market in Brno. And this place just hits every button, I'd say. Kind of checks off every box.
No pun intended.
Right. I didn't even think of that. Yes, exactly. And what I also appreciate is the open concept. How you can come into the restaurant, see the chefs preparing the food, see the bartenders mixing the cocktails. You know where your food's coming from. The people making it. You can give them a thank you at the end. For me, I really like that factor, and I like that openness and this welcoming atmosphere here. And that's why I've kind of been so drawn to this place for the past 18 months now. I'm their number one fan. So I just think what they're doing is just fantastic and ambitious. So in a city that's overrun with traditional Czech pubs, I think this is, that diamond in the rough. So a tourist destination for sure. It's in Náměstí Svobody. It's right off the city center. So literally you can walk around one of the most historic city squares in Brno and pop in and have a great cocktail and food. It doesn't get better than that. So, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love the way that your two descriptions are kind of, I guess, building the picture of where we are, and I think it's working well for me. The kind of the different perspectives. One thing that I'm curious about, because I guess a word that a lot of people use about places like this, given its history, given that it is in the center of town, and I guess quite accessible by anyone, by tourists, by locals, because that is the kind of the beating heart of the city, really, is authenticity. And something that just comes to mind, is just that, how specifically on the food, because we're gonna come to the wine in just a moment, but specifically on the food, then how does anybody that's eating in here, then how is the food itself grounded in South Moravia and South Moravian culture? Presumably the ingredients themselves are from the region, but is there anything or what might be the elements in terms of the style of how that food comes together on the plate that then still does stayed true to its location and still does stay true to the South Moravian food culture?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a very important question, and I think that a lot of people talk about this question a lot. And I think for us the right answer is ingredients needs to be local. It's like a very simple thing, very simple thought, and by in Czech Republic it wasn't easy. If you are in France, there are markets everywhere and you get the great quality, but my answer will be a little bit more complex because most of the ingredients needs to be local, but it needs to be good. It doesn't. It's not to make your concept based on the local things when they are actually not good. So for us it was we are still spending quite a lot of time to find some farmers or to find good produce. Nowadays, I think the most of our cuisine is based totally on a local produce and very good produce. So we have amazing meat. We have beautiful fish that comes like 40 kilometers from beautiful river from Brno. So this is very important for us. And then when you have such a good quality of product, you doesn't need to make much with it. So for us, it's like the quality, simplicity, and a little joke or a little something that will brighten up the food. Also because we talk about a lot the flavor matrix or the flavors itself. So and because the cooks works together with the bartenders, and we are used to work in a cooperation to create flavors. So our very strong thing is a combination of flavors. Not just with the wine or cocktails itself, but actually in the food itself. So this is something that we are quite strong, I think, because the food is based, or the cuisine is based on a local, good quality, simplicity, and nice combination. Straightforward like that, and you doesn't need more. We don't using any molecular things, or we don't do much gelée or air foams. We know these things. We use them in some way, but we try to keep it low because after all, we are still bistro. You doesn't expect 16 ingredients on the plate in a place like this. And when you came and you have the atmosphere, you have the service, you have wine, you have cocktails, you have food. There is so much emotion in it that you doesn't need to do actually more.
Yeah. Less is more.
Less is more. Yeah. Yeah. Simplicity is not simple at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally get that simplicity, and I guess harmony between the different ingredients that people are going to be eating at the time, including the cocktails and the wines, and that's hugely important. But, would it be fair to call upon any particular country or restaurant that maybe has influenced you over time, or you think this has now developed into sort of, your own uniquely Atelier style?
If you work in a gastronomy, you all the time watch what others do, not just because you want to copy them, because you want to, introduce yourself and, make something on your own. So this is not the case. You don't want to copy them, but we was looking a lot to bistro scene in France, in Paris, and, the inspiration came from there, of course, because they was using their ingredients. We are using our ingredients, but we try to work creatively in a simple way with it. So, yes, there was a lot of inspiration there, and inspiration is actually everywhere. And actually, there is a huge inspiration just in the product itself, So
now we get to the wine in the glass, which we've been sort of we've been using to hydrate us as we've been going along. It's a really lovely balmy evening here in Brno. So I'm really excited to kind of hear really the backstory of this particular wine here, because you've actually got a bottle of the Cuvee Atlelier. So I'm guessing this is an exclusive bottling, only available here, and it's from a local South Moravian winemaker. So Please, Milan, if you wouldn't mind, take us inside the glass and give us the background to how this came to be.
With the Cuvee Atelier, I think that is actually a very good example, or great example, what Atelier means, because Atelier was like the cooperation with the great people and people that has passion for what they are doing, And I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago when I was drinking with Dominika from winery Plener, and we was drinking at a bar, some Manhattans or something like that, and talking about our dreams, and she told me that her dream is to have her own winery, and I told her that my dream is to have a restaurant and bistro and bar or something like that. And now I'm selling her wine in my bar, and bistro and bar. So this is where the circle closed, And it was a very big moment when we last year released our Cuvee Atelier, which was made by Dominika. And it was a very emotional moment, because it was 6 years or 7 years of very hard work on both sides. And this is exactly the example of how I want to work with the people, like to achieve something together, And this is very good, or it's very nice wine because it has a lot of tradition and also a lot of history of our winemaking, because she has very beautiful vineyards, one of the most beautiful vineyards I've seen, and it's located in Palava region, and this is near the Mikulov. And like in one row there is many different varieties, because back in the days where the coming through our country, there was no shop with Sauvignon Blanc to go somewhere and buy Chardonnay or something like that. So the old man just planted what he had, And predominantly there is Miller Thurgau, like 70% or so. Then there is Veritas and Palava and so much others. And she pick all the varieties in the vineyard and make wine from it. So it's not like traditional cuvee that is made in a cellar, like with the cepage. It's made on vineyard. And it has been 1 year in a wooden egg. It's an amazing, cask of made from wood, of course, and in the shape of egg, which really helps the, flavoring wine itself by yeast. And we was tasting with Dominika, and then we decided we don't want to, filter it, because we really like how it is. So we bottled it and name it Cuvee Atelier. We had almost 600 bottles, and by this day I think that there is like 10 left. So in 1 year we sold 600 bottles of this, and it was only selling in my place. And it's not like a house wine; it's a little bit higher. So I think it's a very successful project. And like sometimes people came, and they are mostly the Czech people. They are expecting like how gastronomy should be. Wine should be clear, soup should be, hot, and these all things. And we, crush their, ideas just in a first second when we serve them this wine, And then someone are really in a shock and don't want to accept this. But for a lot of people, it's like opening, or, it opens their minds, because, it's something a little crazy. In the first time, they doesn't need to like it, but when they try the cuisine, now they understand more. Like for us, the cuisine is like starting point for wine, because they can understand the cuisine much more better than wine, and then they are starting to exploring more. And in these 3 years, I know people or our regulars that in 3 years ago they would tell you like, we never will drink non-filtered wine, And now they are ordering it for cases. They still like the, Grunewald Plener from Wachau and stuff like that. But, for us and for them, it's like exploring the possibilities of flavors of wines and stuff. So it's more playful, for everyone.
I think it's really interesting points that you brought up there, because I think the thing is about meeting people where they are. You know, you said something I think very interesting. Really, before we turned the mic on, was just even though we're in Brno, we're in South Moravia, and we're literally surrounded by all of these vineyards. It may be that people here, even though they're right here, and even though there is such diversity, they may still have grown up with a very kind of traditional type of wine. Like, as you say, the wine has got to be crystal clear, it's got to be this, it's got to be that, whatever sort of preconceptions that we in the wine world sometimes kind of drum into people. And that maybe at one point the gap potentially between Brno and Prague as a destination for drinking, even South Moravian wines, the kind of the focus, Prague potentially used to be a better place. It was like there was more selection, and maybe the crowd was there, the people who maybe were more open-minded and maybe had wine from lots of different places. But I really think that a wine like this is interesting, because I think it does something very important, that you look at it and it's not your super classic wine, because of the not being filtered. You can see there is something there that's going to I guess alert somebody who wants the ultra filtered wine that okay, this might be something a little bit different. There might be something apart from what you're used to here, and we're sort of showing you that. But I think what this does that's great as well, though, is that it's still very accessible once you taste it. It's not as though this is like a super funky. It's not as though there's anything sort of on the nose either that's going to be sort of potentially off-putting to somebody. So I guess it's a smaller leap to somebody if you're just saying to them, okay, just get over the visual part. Just give me a try. Just have a sip. Just try a little bit. Come with me. Trust me. And I think they'll be rewarded here. And I think I'm sure you don't tire of telling that story to people, because then I think that back to that word authenticity, it's then I think then giving people an idea that okay, maybe my wine doesn't have to always look as I've been told or as I've been expecting. It might look a bit different, but hey, it still tastes great, it still goes well with the food, and it's just delicious. It's been a really fantastic experience, I think I would say, coming here. I did pass by the other night, but I made sure not to come in. I wanted to kind of come in and sit down and I guess experience it kind of for the first time, and it's great to really hear direct from you, Milan, and direct from you, Arielle, about how it came to be and then how it's been received. I just think bringing those two things together is really exciting. But I'm going to end in kind of classic style, and sitting here as we are, August 2020. Who knows what's going on in the world? It's all changing all the time. But I do like to ask people to kind of look ahead. I think it's the right note to end on, and maybe just be a little bit speculative about yourself, about your situation here. What are the kind of your wishes and dreams, and what are the kind of the things that you're potentially looking ahead to?
It's kind of funny because when I moved here for the first month, I spent the entire month crying in the apartment because I didn't know what I was going to do. I've worked in wine now for 15 years. I've worked in hospitality, and I don't speak the language. And I kind of built Civil Wines as a way to create a way for people to appreciate wine without a language barrier. And so my hope in the next 2 years is to grow that so that more people can experience Moravian wine, but to have someone communicate it to them and educate them about all of the work that's been put into South Moravia over 30 years since the end of communism. I think people don't realize this is a really old wine region, but a really young wine region at the same time. And I think with people like Milan and other restaurants in Brno that are pushing this concept of wine and gastronomy and premium wines from winemakers with a soul and passion, I think that that's really going to push it forward. So my goal is to kind of create this more of a conversation about South Moravia and how people can access it and come here and taste the wines and find a way to bring Moravia back home or to travel here and eat great food and experience what I've had with the generosity of people in South Moravia. I think people go from Prague to Vienna without passing through Brno, or if they pass through Brno, it's for a few hours. But for me, I want to make Brno a real destination for people like me who are adventurous and like to travel and drink good wine and walk through the vineyards, 20 minutes south of Brno. It's something you can't get in big cities. So, so I've been welcomed so much with generosity from Brno. I just want to give that back on a grander scale.
Atelier for me is just like not just a bar and bistro, but also platform where I can build other projects and move a little bit forward and think about more ideas. But always on the first in the first row, for me, there will be Atelier, and I want to be working concept, to have very satisfied customers and also very happy colleagues. And this is for me very important, and I will focus on it for, of course, next years. And then maybe there will be some more projects that I'm thinking now about, but my focus now is almost totally on Atelier, on cooperation with the winemakers, on cooperation with the farmers, on cooperation with cooks and bartenders to have more pop-ups here. And actually now I'm working a lot on a management thing, or how to make it even better for our colleagues, how to provide some scholarships for them. And I want to build Atelier as a platform where everyone will be happy. I don't want to sound like some silly guy, but I think that this little naive thing and the way how I want to see my world around is very important, because it helps me to achieve actually, or get closer to my goals.
Thank you so much, Milan and Arielle. It was an absolute pleasure to sit down with you in Atelier, and I feel like the city has the place it deserves, and anybody wanting to explore the local food and wine should definitely make a journey there. I've left below in the description the contact details for Atelier Bar and Bistro, and also those of Civil Wines, so do be sure to check them both out on social media. And if you're not already, I would love to have you following along with me on social media, where I'm at Interpreting Wine on Instagram and Facebook, at Wine Podcast on Twitter, and email hello@interpretingwine.com. See you next time.